building a YouTube channel, as interviewed by Roland for CapOhTV. We got Ryan in the green room today, and he's going to tell you all about it. Greetings and welcome to Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. So we know it's not Saturday morning everywhere, but where I am, it's the last hour of Saturday for the rest of the weekend there. So, or forever actually, isn't that right? This is Roland from MinMax Media bringing you the DIYLivestreamingshow.com website and the Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties show broadcasting live, streaming from that website. It's also streaming in Facebook, Google Plus, and on Google Events, and also, of course, in YouTube where it's housed. So we are pursuing the concept of building a YouTube channel today, and we have an expert in. We're going to introduce him in just a moment. But before that, let's let you know who's backing me up this morning, because Tim Longwell is also in the green room, and he will be the comment wrangler for today. Tim, why don't you unmute your mic and say hi to the people?
Hi, everybody. I'm Tim Longwell, Longwell Art, where we help you reignite your creativity for better health and happiness. And if you can't do your own creations the way you want decorating, we'll do it for you.
Good. And Tim does a very special thing. He basically is the catalyst that brings in the audience participation into the conversation that we're having today. So that's the job that Tim does, and feel free to message him directly or comment in the comment stream and tell us where you're coming from, what your name is, and give us a little bit about yourself and interact with the people in the audience. Glad to have you, and thank you very much for showing up. We've already got some people coming in. So without further ado, I want to introduce Ryan, who goes by Cap from CapOhTV. So Ryan, why don't you come on board and give a brief introduction about who you are?
Oh, sure. My name's Ryan. I run a YouTube channel here called CapOhTV. The tagline is "School's a joke, but you still have to do something." Or it used to be "School's a joke, don't be the punchline." We'll get into why I made that change a little later, I'm sure. But that's the gist of my pitch, my bio.
So doesn't he have a fantastic voice? I mean, by golly, one of the things that we always talk about is like, gee, I don't sound good over the microphone. Well, that's something that you don't have to worry about because
I've been working on it.
Is that right? So do you do vocal exercises and stuff like that?
Oh, no. I meant I've been working on it as in I've been practicing this for almost 2 years now. So I've gotten comfortable in front of a microphone and camera. So it's somewhat natural now.
Okay, so we're already into it, finding out more about yourself. So the first question I would have for you, before we get into the particulars, because we want to know everything that we can about you, but you were a substitute teacher, and you were deep in the system, and you were working your way into maybe a full-time teaching job, but you were just substituting, and then suddenly you decided to switch gears completely, changed horses in the middle of the stream, and became a YouTuber. Can you give us a little hint on why you did that and how that transition was?
I did it because I realized that school is a joke, and I was doing very little good, just wasting away in the school system. And luckily I never made it to full-time teacher, because I think if I had gotten that full-time position, and I would have been the concept of the golden handcuffs, I would have been making $50,000 or $60,000 a year to do something that I knew I actually hated, but now I'm making all this money, which is pretty easy money. Let's be honest. That's something I talk about a lot on the channel. It's that teachers always complain, but I'm getting off track. But I made the switch after 3 years of substitute teaching. I abandoned that idea of being a full-time teacher in favor of starting something of my own. That was, I think, the biggest part of it was the idea that I could have control of something and that I could reach. I calculated it a while ago in an older video of mine, but on a daily basis, a teacher can reach at most maybe 150 people. But if you're on YouTube or another social media thing like that, you can reach hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis with your message and influence their lives for the good. Whereas if you're sitting in a classroom all day, you're limited to what you can actually do. So yeah, starting the YouTube channel was a way for me to express and my message and get people thinking, beyond, school is the way it has to be. It's not the way it has to be. That's where I started with that.
So from where you were, basically you're in a box and you're teaching people that there is no box unless you accept the box. I love it. So thinking outside the box, just the hell with the box. There is no box. Tim's got a comment from the audience. So let's see what. Oh, Weewick's there.
Yep. And he gives an interesting point, and it ties right in with the box and everything and why it was created. It says present day schooling was invented by the colonial British so they could get an unlimited supply of law-abiding, do-as-you're-told clerks. Sadly, the world is still using the same system today. What do you think of that, Roland?
Well, I dropped out of college in the middle of the stream and told a couple of my instructors that they could take their classrooms and shove it. So the reason that I'm so attracted to what Ryan has to say is that CapOhTV represents one of the main things that I focus on, the idea that you need an education, but not necessarily school. And so I'm so much in tune with that I was attracted to him. But that's not how I met him. I'll tell you how I met him in a second. Did you have another comment, Tim? You're muted.
I got another one I can bring up real quick. Give me a second here. Vivek's got another good one.
Because after this, we're going to be so busy. We're going to be so busy talking in a minute that you're not going to be able to get the comments in. So I want to give the audience a chance, and then we're going to move on.
All right.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay, let's save it for later, Tim. And because I really want to get over to this, the concept of Ryan, you chose YouTube to express yourself because you learned and discovered that you really love to make videos. And when you started on YouTube, first of all, you and I met because I contacted you because you did a video on this microphone right here, this microphone, Behringer Ultra Voice XM8500 microphone. And you were basically saying it's as good as anything that you've been using. And for the price, it's just a no-brainer. The microphone is $20 and it is, I agree, a hell of a microphone. It's really the microphone that I promote when I'm telling people about getting started in YouTube. That's the microphone that I recommend. So let's get around to whatever it was I was going to ask you. You've got, you just moved over 1,900 subs. So how long did it take you to get there?
Well, let me see on my notes here, a little behind the scenes. I prepared for this because I wasn't sure when I saw you were going to ask that question. I said, "Gee, I don't really know how long it took." But apparently, it took me 1 year and 3 months to get that first 1,000, and that was a grind. I started the channel in December of 2015. My first video was December 27th of 2015, and then it took until like April of 2017 to cross that 1,000 subscriber threshold. But like I said, that was a grind in itself. And for that first year, I would say, yeah, that first full year, I really wasn't sure what I was doing with the channel. It was the learning experience, you could say. And if I could just back up for a second and talk about how my channel started as kind of a joke between myself and some of the students that I was substitute teaching, because after doing it for 3 years, I worked in the same high school almost every day, which is a few minutes away from my house. So there was a small group of students that I was pretty friendly with, and they were like on board with the whole anti-school thing, but they were smart kids. They just didn't like to follow the rules, I guess you could say. They still did all their work and everything, but they knew that they were doing it just to satisfy the teachers and the administrators. They were doing their own thing on the side. But I told one of them one day, wouldn't it be funny if I made a YouTube channel talking about me being a substitute teacher and some of the crazy stories that have happened, or crazy stories and crazy things that have happened in the classroom here? And they're like, oh yeah, haha, that'd be funny. So during the Christmas break, I said, I wonder what it really would take to start a YouTube channel. And so I got the minimum equipment to get the maximum effect, and I started the channel there. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that was a year long of just here's the camera. Actually, this is the camera I started with, a little point and shoot. Put the camera on, say some things in front of it, upload it, and see how it goes, and just do that 100 more times, and eventually you get 1,000 subscribers. So
Well, that's pretty impressive. Just a brief question, which I don't want to start a whole sideline, but how much of your week did you devote to this then? I mean, it was probably a full-time job for you, but what would you say? Did you do a full schedule, full-time job 5 days a week or 7 days a week or what?
In the beginning, I think I was spending a lot more time on it than I should have, because I was like, every second that I wasn't working, I was like, oh, what can I do next? I had a little notebook that I write ideas down in, and then I would like plan out how I could record it and get the audio, matched up with this, and I could have this shot here and this shot there. And then I would spend like the same amount of time that I spent recording, I would spend probably double that editing it to try to get it just perfect. Eventually I realized that that's the wrong way to go about it. Because YouTube isn't about being perfect. It's about having a message and a story to share. So you could think that you're making the world's most perfect video, but if it doesn't have a point, no one's going to care about it anyway. So it doesn't matter how fancy it looks or how great it sounds. Did it have a good story that people were, invested in? That's what matters on YouTube and any like creative endeavor. So there was a point where I was trying to upload 7 days a week. That lasted for about a month before I burned out. So I don't suggest trying to do 7 days a week in your first year of starting a YouTube channel. Maybe twice, 2 or 3 times a week is pushing it. At least once a week, I think, is probably the best when you're just learning. But yeah,
well, that is probably the best advice I can think of, because I know some people who are trying really hard right now. They're getting started, don't know exactly what they're doing, but they're live streaming twice a day sometimes for 5 or 10 minutes at a time, and just whatever goes. And I think that they'll discover a year from now that they refine their strategy quite immensely to being once a day or twice or 3 times a week, as you say. Because I agree with you. I'm producing a Saturday show and a Friday stream of consciousness thought sequence, and it's almost a full-time job just doing those two.
Yeah, and there's got to be a balance between quality and quantity. Like, you can have a whole bunch of quantity, and for some reason people think that right now on YouTube it's all about uploading every day, 3 times a day. That's how the algorithm will get your videos seen. But like I said earlier, if you're putting out 10 videos a week and people aren't even watching one of them, then there's a problem. You need to focus on telling a compelling story first and then increasing your volume from there. So you got to learn how to tell the story before you can actually share it with others.
I really like what you're just saying, because some people think that they don't have a story, and I don't believe that. I believe that every single one of us has a story that's significant to themselves and to some other people. I mean, some other people are going to say, wow, that's a really interesting perspective. But the idea of how to tell your story and to deliver it makes all the difference. And so many people are focusing on the delivery system, the timing, how often you post, and what to, how to SEO your post. But not as many people are focused on what is the message I'm delivering and what do I have to say. And it gets back down to the roots of why you're doing it in the first place. So I really appreciate the things that you're saying right now. I wanted to go back over something. You said that you changed your tagline. And I didn't want to, I think that I didn't want to miss that. Did we miss it, or was there more to add to that story?
There's a little bit more to add to that. So as a substitute teacher, I'm going into the school system every day for 3 years saying how much the school system sucks. So there are like the smart, quote unquote, smart students who get it. Like I could have an intellectual conversation with them saying, here's the problems with the school system. Here's why you can be educated without going through the typical 4 years of college. Like what you do in school isn't how you get your education. Your education is something that you do for yourself. So by saying school's a joke, don't be the punchline of that bad joke that is school, meaning take control of your education. That's what the message was that I was trying to convey to these young people. But there was a big chunk of them that misunderstood that, and they took it to mean school's a joke, don't be the punchline, therefore I don't have to do anything. I can just sit back and relax and blow everything off. When they didn't understand that they're the ones that are responsible for getting an education. The school doesn't give you an education. You don't go to school to get something. You are the first mover in your own education. So I changed it, the tagline, to say school's a joke, but you still have to do something. And I kind of stole that from Gary Vaynerchuk's idea of documenting versus creating, where he advocates actually doing something and showing something rather than, like I did in the beginning of my YouTube career, trying to spend 20 hours trying to get this video perfect when it could be just as impactful with 3 hours of record, edit, upload. You got to do something. You can't just sit back and say, well, school's a joke, I guess I'm good as long as I go around saying that. Like, you still have to do something with your life and your education.
Yeah, that brings to mind something that whenever you're producing anything, especially the concept of video for public display, at some point what you're producing, and maybe the series of what you're producing, reaches a critical mass. And so you're working on one project. At some point you have to say, good enough is good enough. I've min-maxed this thing to the max, and now it's time to show the world what I've done. And you realize after a while, it's like trying to be perfect is really a waste of time, because it does not improve the delivery or the actual product of what you make. So min-maxing, the minimum you need for maximum impact. I love it, because you just supported my whole concept of why I named my company Min-Max.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. One of my most popular video, I should say, the most popular video I did is called "How to Make School Go By Faster." It's almost got 40,000 views now in just under, well, maybe a little more than a year. But that video, when I recorded it, it took me like 15 minutes to record it, another 45 minutes to edit it, and then I, did the basic title, SEO, description, tags, and all that for YouTube, and I uploaded it and forgot about it, thinking, okay, that's one in the books. And then my next video was like a cinematic. I wanted to have multiple camera angles and tell this story about, like, I don't even remember what it was, but I spent, I don't know, probably 12 hours working on that. That video got 100 views. And now the one that I spent less than an hour really working on is at 40,000. It's my most popular video and is #1 in search results for make school go faster on all of YouTube and Google. It's crazy. So you don't need to spend a whole lot of time to get a lot of return on your investment there.
Absolutely. I love the analogy because really the concept is that people get involved because of the message and what you're delivering. And when they get emotionally attached to your message, how you produced it or how good your microphone is or how much you spend time editing it doesn't really matter. And at some point you need to fine tune your methodology, but good enough is good enough, and you just got to speak your mind. So I love the fact that you bring this to the limelight, because YouTube, you can score something in YouTube and not have to be a professional video editor. So I love that. So with your station from where you are now, what are your plans for development? Where are you going from here? What are your goals and objectives for your channel?
Oh, I think it would be pretty cool to one day get those million subscribers and be part of the big time YouTubers. But on the same hand, no one really knows what tomorrow is going to bring. So that's why I've always joked when I was still substitute teaching. I would joke with the students, like, who knows if I'll ever even make it to 500 subscribers. YouTube could be closed down tomorrow, or they could make some small little change to their the way their algorithms work and the way they present search results, and it could totally destroy my little School as a Joke YouTube channel, which happens, and it happens often to, like, it's happening most recently with gaming videos, gaming channels, when they YouTube did the whole advertiser friendly sort of mix up. So their algorithm started flagging all gaming videos with any sort of violence or any sort of gun play in them, anything like that. It demonetized them, took them out of search results, and made them age restricted. And that totally killed a lot of channels. So my plans for development on YouTube are to just keep doing what I'm doing because it's working. And this is something that's weird about YouTube. Your growth seems to come in waves. It's not like you would think, which way is the camera going? A straight line up. It's not linear. Your growth on YouTube is never going to be linear. When I started with 0 subscribers, I got up to 13 subscribers, and those were all family and friends. And then I stayed there for weeks. I was 13 subscribers. Okay, is it ever going to go up? Oh, I don't know. I'll just keep making videos and try to find my voice. And eventually I got 40 subscribers, and then 60, and then 62. Oh, then I went down to 59. And then all it takes is one video, one good video. I forget what it was in the beginning. It was some stupid challenge video that was trending at the time, got a few thousand views. And that shot me up to 250 subscribers in a few days. And then it was another plateau, just waiting, got to 300, 305, 307. Oh, another video hit. Now I'm at 700. So you can't really predict that. All you can do, and all I'm going to do, is to continue to perfect my delivery of the message, I guess you could say. Keep making videos that people are actually interested in, videos that people are searching for. Like my recent one, School versus Real Life, which is, the idea behind that is, in school, you have to raise your hand to use the bathroom. In real life, you can just go when you want to go. That sort of idea of freedom is the thing that's, school versus real life. You have more freedom. Very simple idea, very simple message. The video is less than 4 minutes long, but I think it's already ranking in the top 10 search results for school versus real life, or real life and school. So that video might do pretty well. And you mentioned I just reached over 1,900 subscribers. I only got to 18 like a week ago. So something's going on right now where YouTube is promoting my channel and my videos, and people are finding it more based on simple SEO and their algorithms and whatever. So my growth now is on a pretty good, I'm catching a wave, I guess you could say. I'm riding that wave all the way in.
Well, that's very, very cool. So I want to jump in and kind of like rewind or back up a bit. What is it that prepared you for video, live streaming video? I mean, you're obviously very, very animated on the camera. Your voice is wonderful. So, you know, a lot of people would look at you and say, well, I don't sound like him. I don't look like him. I'm not good on the camera. But you either had this ability or skill or developed it somewhere. And maybe you could address that. How did you prepare for your live streaming?
I think it's an outcome of my, how can I say, like the teacher mentality that I have. Because going through college, I went to college only because it was free, by the way. And I point that out a lot on my channel, because people say, hey, you went to college, but you're telling us not to go to college. School's a joke. What's the deal? You're such a hypocrite. But I only went to college because I got it for free through scholarships. If I had to pay for school, it's a bad, totally bad deal. I didn't want to go $40,000 or $50,000 in debt for it. But at the end of it, after I got my degree in philosophy, I said, maybe I should become a professor. And I was in the process of applying for graduate school, getting a PhD in philosophy. And then I realized I don't want to do another 6 or 7 years of this. So, so I went off and I started working in different industries. I was a debt collector for a while. So calling people on the phone, that was all voice, that was all live, I guess you could say. If they were recording debt collecting calls, I would have been a live stream debt collection. That's an interesting thought. So there was that. I guess that helped me get comfortable talking in the moment. And my next job after that was as a trucking broker and dispatcher for fruit and produce. So all day I was on the phone handling live situations where normal people, because we thought we were all weird in that office, but normal people would have just said, this is enough. I'm leaving. I'm walking out. I don't want to do this job anymore. But you have to be able to think quickly on your feet and come up with the words to address the situation. But overall, I think it comes down to me being comfortable in the teaching position, like getting in front of someone and expressing an idea and helping them to understand it. I think that's where I get this from. And sometimes I'm a little too talky, like maybe right now. Maybe I'm like, if I'm trying to explain a concept to someone and they're not getting it, I break it down into, smaller pieces, try to talk to them like they're a kindergartner. And long after they've lost interest, I want to make sure that they get it. But they're like, oh no, it's all right. You don't have to explain it. I'll figure it out later. But I'm like, you're so close. You're like right there. You're like, if you would just think of it like this or like that, it's kind of like that. Like, that's the mentality that I have. So I think that's how I, am comfortable talking to this little pinhole right there, pretending like that's a person, even though, we're all here at the same time. It's like, hey, I'm just talking to people. I just can't see them right now.
Right. I have a big problem with that. And I can't sit here just talking to the microphone like this. It's just, it's like my mental capacity to manage that sequence doesn't work. So I have to watch the people in the video and I have to watch what's going on. I'm kind of like more of a show manager than a horse, than a host, I mean. And but anyway, I can really appreciate what you're saying there. I came from the live band era before I became a disc jockey, but eventually I got in front of a lot of people daily with a microphone. So that's where I come from. But for those people who are out there that haven't done this kind of business, haven't been in front of people speaking like yourself, for teaching in front of school people and stuff, there's seems to be an insurmountable mountain in front of them that is like, my God, I got to learn how to use a camera. I got to use a mic, and it just stops them in their tracks. So one of the things that we're doing in this show is showing that in some limited amount of time, you can learn to do this. I don't care who you are or where you come from or what your message is. You can get a camera, get a microphone, and express yourself. And you don't have to sound like you or me or anybody in particular. You don't have to produce it so that it's a multi-$1,000 production by a major league video company. You can simply live stream in YouTube. So this is a great way to express yourself and get started. So, okay, we've covered the concepts of why you do what you do and some stuff about that. In the next sequence, I would like to ask you about some of the tools that you use and what you do to produce your videos. So we're going to ask you those questions in just a moment. Wow. So I blew that, didn't I? Let's try that again. That's what I wanted to show. Actually, that's not what I wanted to show. That's what I wanted to show. Okay, a little taste of Capo there. If you want to get in touch with him, we'll show this again at the end of the video. But just an informational there, his contact points at YouTube and his website. So we'll have that for you again at the end. So, Tim, do we have any comments or anything from the field? People want to ask Cap any questions about what's going on? Feel free to bring those up and we'll keep that alive. The questions that I have for you, Cap, include, number one, how do you make your thumbnails?
I use Adobe Photoshop Elements 15, the very cheap version of Photoshop. That's the program I use.
How have you tried making thumbnails anywhere else? Anything else that you recommend? Or?
When I very first started doing this, I would just make the thumbnails in the video editor itself. So just pick a frame out of there and add a title, and that was the thumbnail. I would export it as an image file and then upload it as the thumbnail. But after a little while, that became harder to do just because I realized my thumbnails were a little basic and they didn't have very much character or style to them. So that's when I decided to learn how to use Photoshop, like the very basics of Photoshop. You don't need to be able to do full-on like cosmetic blemish fixes and all these other crazy things you can do with Photoshop. You just need to understand layers, titles, and your beautiful face. That's what you need to know to make a good thumbnail in Photoshop.
Well, that's really cool. And the idea, how much is Photoshop Elements? Because I use regular Photoshop, but if I were to do this over again, there's no way I'm going to invest or subscribe to the entire Adobe suite. So how do you get Adobe Elements?
Well, the Elements, the Photoshop, and Adobe Premiere, which is the video editing thing, it's the cheapest way to get them is to buy them in a bundle together and wait for when it goes on sale. So they're always, well, not always, but pretty consistently, like if you just can wait 2 or 3 months, you'll be able to find the bundle of it on the physical DVD for probably like $80. So you get Photoshop and Premiere for $80, and those 2 programs will pretty much carry you through all of your YouTube career unless you start getting into like the more high-end special effects, and that's a totally different kind of channel that you're making at that point. So Yeah, but those
Right.
two things, Premiere Elements and Photoshop Elements, are going to be your bread and butter.
And the thing is, you have to do something to be, an upgrade from, as you say, upgrade from the YouTube opportunity. And there are various things, but the concept of building thumbnails is something that I think that you have perfected. And I'm going to show everybody exactly what they look like. So I'm going to show your YouTube channel. So this is your YouTube channel. And as you see, the colors of red, blue, and yellow and white pretty much highlight most of what you do. And it's really, really impressive. When you look at this, I mean, the color, people look at one of your thumbnails and they know it's you. I mean, you're branding the colors as much as you're branding your statement of what you do. So I just wanted to show people what the effect is when you use thumbnails, which I haven't yet. I'm about to transform some of my more recent ones and use thumbnails. But this is something that you've been prolific at. And so I wanted to bring up that that's an important thing. So thank you for that information. The other thing, go ahead.
I want to say you kind of hinted at it there. There's a very specific reason why almost all my thumbnails look alike, and that is branding. And I learned that from Tim Schmoyer and Brian G. Johnson, are two YouTubers on here, YouTube education people that have channels. So if, after we're done here, if people want to go check them out, you can learn a lot, especially from Brian G. Johnson. He is very direct to the point on how to grow on YouTube, and same with Tim Schmoyer. He's been around for years. But having thumbnails that are, they don't have to be exactly the same, but like you mentioned, similar colors. You notice the background on all my thumbnails is the same. I've always got the little CapOhTV stripe up on the top left corner. And in the more recent ones, I've been doing that yellow streak across the bottom, is because when people are watching your video and it's getting towards the end of it, YouTube is selecting the next video for them to watch, either suggested videos or browse feature videos. And if they're looking down their sidebar on the computer, or they're looking at the videos down below on their smartphone, and they see a similar looking thumbnail and they liked your video to begin with, they're going to say, oh, that looks similar. I'm going to click that and see what that is. It's just a thing that people have been trained to do for hundreds of years now with, normal branding. You go to a supermarket and you see your favorite, you see that familiar cereal on the shelf, you're going to grab it just by reaction. You're not going to think, what do I want today? You're going to say, oh, that looks familiar, I'll take that. So if someone's watching your channel and they see familiar thumbnails, they'll say, oh, well, I liked those in the past, maybe I'll click that one. And then they get lost in the loop. They get lost in the black hole that is YouTube watching.
Exactly. But it's all about the emotion of what they feel when they see that thumbnail. It represents the feeling that they got when they watched the previous movie or video from you. So, Tim, did you have something to add?
Yeah. Ryan was mentioning about Tim Schmoyer and Brian G. Johnson. Brian's got a book on Amazon that you can get, Tube Ritual, that it breaks down pretty much into a simple, as you can see, small course that you can quickly up your game, so to speak. As he puts it, stake your claim on YouTube and make your presence, amplify your message and such. And it's helped a lot of people. So, and it's like $15, I think it is, something like that. So that's a way to help people. It covers thumbnails and a lot of the stuff Ryan's been covering today as well.
Very good. And then maybe we can post a mention with in the chat stream on what those links are, who the people are, so people can research it. But let's not plug these guys any further, because This is Cap's show today, and we want to talk to him. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up is you do something that's not as many show live streamers do, and that is you produce your show in OBS software, and then it's really a handy thing. So let's talk about why you chose OBS and what benefit it has for the people who watch your video. They can recognize what good that's doing.
You want to know the real reason why I use OBS?
Oh, I'm ready.
Because it's free. It's free. It cost me nothing. So that's the main reason I chose OBS and learned how to use it, was because I didn't want to spend any more money just to live stream. So OBS Studio is a free download. It's got most of the core functions that you would need to just do a basic YouTube live stream, and doesn't cost you a penny. It does use a little more system resources than I think other programs do. So your computer needs to be up to the task. And yeah, when I first started this channel, I had to scrap my 2007 Gateway laptop in favor of a desktop, a modern one. So yeah, that was a shame. But yeah, OBS, great program. I use it because it's free and it works.
Cool. So like, how many gigs of RAM do you have on your computer?
I have 16 at the moment, but I think I could get away with 8. I used 8 gigabytes for the past, like, I don't know, year or so. And then it was only recently that I upgraded to 16. I don't think it makes that big a difference. It's just nice to have that overhead for if I go really crazy on the video editing, that's where it comes in handy.
Right. See, I'm using a pretty easy to stream stuff myself. I don't use OBS, but I do realize that at the end of the day, I've got so many windows and tabs open, and I don't have to worry about with 16 gigs. You don't have to worry usually about having too much open, because your brain really can't wrap itself around more information than that. So it seems to be a good balance. 16 is a magic number, everybody. 8 is good. 8 works, but 16 is magic. And so that's my recommendation for the day. Basically, we would like to know, is there anything aside from what we're asking you, because I line up all these questions and I have my agenda, but what message would you have for people that want to get started in live streaming? Because there's a lot of people that are going to be hearing this term live streaming prolifically on the internet and everywhere. And what would you advise for them? How would you direct them?
I would say reach into your pocket and pull out this. You have your cell phone. Your smartphone is your studio in your pocket these days, as long as it's, within the past couple of years, a model that is. And I think on YouTube now, you can live stream regardless of how many subscribers you have, directly from the YouTube app on your phone, mobile live streaming. It used to be you needed to have like 10,000 subscribers, then they lowered it to 1,000. And now I think anyone who has a YouTube channel can live stream directly from their phone, and without having to worry about the computer or any extra technical bits. So if you wanted to just get a basic camera mount, a little clampy thing that you can get at the dollar store on one of the cheap selfie sticks, unscrew that, put it on a tripod, go live on YouTube tomorrow if you want to. It's incredible how easy things are becoming and how cheap it is to just potentially broadcast to the world.
That's very true. And in conjunction to that parallel, what do you think of Facebook Live? And have you considered any of that?
I have negative feelings for Facebook still. Mostly because I hate the way that they handle video. I hate the way that everything looks like garbage on that. I've uploaded videos on there before that I know are in full HD. They look great on YouTube, but then when you put them on Facebook, the highest resolution that it comes up with sometimes is only 480p, and the audio sounds like they're underwater. So I think they're working on it, obviously, but at the moment, I don't do much on Facebook. I don't do anything on Facebook, frankly. I deleted my CapOhTV page over there just because I don't want to deal with that at the moment. But it might work for some other people. I don't know.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about Facebook. I've always said that I'll be researching it, but it is not my prime directive right now. And go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, you know what I think Facebook is good for is, if I understand it correctly, I've never actually used Facebook ads myself, but Facebook is a great platform to buy ad space on because it's supposedly really cheap at the moment, and you can hyper target certain groups of people. Like if you have a product that's for people between the ages of 18 to 25 living in this certain area, you can buy ads that will only show to those people, so you're getting the maximum amount of, there it is again, the maximum amount of value, because you're only showing it to the people that might actually care about it in the first place. So you don't have to do a big blanket marketing campaign. You can be laser focused on who is most likely to, buy your product or service.
But I can see what you're attracted to. You're attracted to the production in YouTube where you can express yourself, and that's the focus of what you're delivering. You're not trying to monetize, is not the focus or reason why you're doing it. Because a lot of people feel like the only reason to make a video is to make it for money, to produce money off of it. And I say, well, that's not why I'm doing it. Maybe I'm missing the entire boat, but I'm basically here to communicate what I'm feeling inside and express myself. And I believe in the same time that if I do express myself, there will be a way to make it a living. And
that,
there.
Yeah, that's another thing that, like, I only really listen to a small group of people. Gary Vaynerchuk is one of the big ones, but he always says how he doesn't, I don't think he's tried to sell anything for the past 5 years, but all he does is provide value to people. So he will teach and you will learn, and he won't try to, have a sales pitch in there, because he knows that if he's providing value to you later on down the road, he's going to get, 10 times that amount back in whatever happens to come up. So making a video, you shouldn't, like, and I fell into this trap myself way in the beginning. I was like, oh, what's the video I can make that's going to get 1 million views and make me, $1,000 overnight? Like, that doesn't make a good video, because again, it starts with the story, and it starts with you providing value to other people first. And then from that, if you do make money on the back end, that's just icing on the cake. But the more value you can provide, the better off you're going to be.
Man, you just solidified the reason why I feel like I'm attuned to you. The concept of, I just ran a contest called the Give First contest. The idea that if you're going to get into marketing and so forth, you have to be willing to give first. And real giving is when you give without the expectation of payback or compensation. That's giving. To give because you think you're going to get something, that's trading or that's selling, but it's certainly not giving. So you really emphasize the spirit of the Smarties show and what we do here, and I really appreciate that a lot. So we're about 10 minutes away before we have to wrap this up. But I noticed that Roz Bounty is in the audience, and also We Wake is still out there, and there are a couple people. So thank you very much. Oh, Barbara Quick showed up. By the way, I guess we not to interject in the middle of this interview with you, but I live in Southern California, and California's been dealing with fires right now, and it's amazing. It's pretty amazing. Over 30 people have lost their lives. Thousands and thousands of homes destroyed, and the fires are still blazing. But Barbara Quick is in the audience, and her town was where one of the markers on the California map that showed where the fires were. So she was like within a few miles of the fire, and she's in the audience today. So I'm glad you're safe and sound, and you and your family and your animals are safe. And thank you very much for showing up for the Smarties Show. And also, Aaron from Stroke TV, my compadre there with the program that we're building here, he is also in just on the outside edge of Santa Rosa, and which Santa Rosa got destroyed by the fire. And he luckily is back in his home, safe and sound, animals and family all together, and their home was untouched. So he was one of the few that survived the Santa Rosa flames. But if you want to give to the, and we're all involved with this, so if everyone wants to give $5 or $10 or whatever it is that you can give is the concept, and you can go to the Red Cross and decide to give right to the wildfires of California if you so please. So thank you very much for letting me take up a little bit of time there, but I wanted to interject that because some people are showing up from the fire zones, so I appreciate that. Anyway, let's see. Tim, was there anything happening? I noticed that Roz Boundy is in the audience, and she's commenting prolifically now. She usually shows up and converses with us. I'm glad to see you made it, because she is in Australia, and it's in the wee hours for her right now. It's very early, and so that's makes it not so timely for her. Let's see what's going on. And Roz Bandy, okay.
Yep, we'll start with her since you highlighted her first there in the chat. It's she's talking about actually getting into live streaming in the first place is where she's having her issues. I've been the expert in procrastination and she's learning to break the pattern. And she makes the observation that technology is growing and changing so fast in regards to development of how we communicate. She initially trained her eye to the pinhole of the camera by putting a picture of a friend just behind it, as if she was talking to them to make it easier to do. And that's one of the suggestions to you that is encouraged. Put something bright behind the camera, a picture of a friend, something like that, so that you do look at the camera easier. And Vivek had some things that he brought out, a couple of comments. When we were talking about education earlier, he said the present day education kills creativity and innovation. Don't believe what he's saying. Watch Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talk, a British person, by the way. And that link is in the comments if you'd like to go watch that. Then he also was commenting on the fact that Ryan brought out the 80-20 rule. 20% of your work gives you 80% of your results. The problem is, how do you know what you're doing that the 20% productive work? So that's why you have to do it consistently, because you don't know which 20% is actually going to carry the load.
Yeah, that is a huge concept, is that you don't know. You can't, if you did know, if you were able to know what exactly was going to happen, then everyone would be a YouTube millionaire, or everyone would be a millionaire in whatever, aspect they are. The best you can do is keep plugging away, doing what you know works. And even, if you do everything perfectly, it might just fall flat. But that very next time could be the one that sets you over the moon and launches your whole, the whole rest of your life.
Yeah, so really, it's very hard then to segment it conceptually and say, well, because of this subject, I didn't get the response, so I won't do that subject anymore. It's not about that. It's like the various connective points in the video are basically unanalyzable. We don't know exactly what's going to spark the people, and the response is where we finally know whether we scored or not. So it's very hard when someone comes up with a concept like how to make a viral video. It's like, when I read that, I think, you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, even though I haven't even listened to what you have to say yet, you don't know what you're talking about.
On that vein, there is, I forget what the company's name is, but that is what they do. They set out to make viral videos. But even when they're the professionals, quote unquote, at making viral videos, there's still a good percentage of their videos that don't go viral. But people don't focus on those. They focus on the ones that do go viral, and they say, oh, look how easy it is. Why, I should just do this. But they ignore the other failures. That's the whole trick, is that you need to understand that out of those 10 videos someone made, only 10% went viral. Only one of them went viral. But that's the one you remember, and that's the one you hold up as the prime example while you ignore their 9 failures. And the person that made those 10 videos, they just accept the failures for what they are, and they say, wow, that was great. We got 1 out of 10. That's pretty good. So I think that's the attitude you have to take when you're trying to grow a YouTube channel or a live streaming audience, is just keep going with the flow and, take your victories.
I mean, I guess one of the takeaways is that the stats are very misleading, and it can be very, very misleading to watch something go viral and say, oh, well, he did it like this. If I do it like that, I'm going to have the same results. And then you try it, you try to copy people, because there's the methodology and there's this 10-point plan on how to make a viral video. And then you realize the freaking thing didn't work. It didn't work, because you're plugging yourself into a format that is not necessarily going to produce a video that people want to watch. Just because you follow a formula doesn't mean that your video is going to get watched.
Yeah, it could be the wrong time, the wrong person didn't share your video. Like there's all kinds of factors that are outside of your control that, you just got to do what you're good at, and eventually it works out.
So the one other last question before we let you go here, I'm wondering about associations with other people who have influence. So do you actually reach out to other camps, to other people that have big followings? And does that benefit you at all in your expansion of your own subscribers?
Up to this point, I have not done anything like that. I've been just me, myself, and my little cameras down in the basement studio. That's it. I think that collaboration on YouTube is one of the not easiest, but one of the prime ways that you can grow a channel quickly. Even if if you and your friend both start a YouTube channel, for example, and he gets to 100 subscribers and you are at 50 subscribers, they're not necessarily the same people. So if you two did a collaboration video, now there's that crossover where his 100 are going to see you and your 50 are going to see him, and a percentage of those subscribers are going to subscribe to each other's channels. So you can't get lost in the idea of, oh, I need to work with someone who has 100,000 subscribers. That's the only way people are going to see me. It's not a matter of gaining that massive exposure. It's about just gaining new eyeballs, even if it's 50 people. 20 of them could subscribe. That's a big bump when you're just starting out. That could set you on your way just there. So collaboration is a big deal, but I haven't done it yet myself, except for right now. This is my first this is my first time actually talking with someone who is also trying to live the YouTube lifestyle, I guess you could say.
Well, I can't promise you a lot of bleed over influence, but I will promote you as best I can. And there are a few people coming away from this that will see you and probably subscribe. So I'm hoping that happens. And we're about to wrap up. We're right at the 12 o'clock mark. Tim, was there anything that you wanted to add to the show today to wrap up with the concept of building a YouTube channel, or anything that Cap said?
No, he pretty well covered it. Isaac put some links in the chat for people to go look at regarding Ryan's channel and Brian and Tim Schmoyer. Rosbeth likes how I'm comment wrangling, and she expressed her appreciation. And we'd like to thank everybody that has commented in the comment stream. And if we didn't get your comment up on in the video, my apologies if I missed catching them to bring them in. And with the flow of the comment today, as you can notice, that sometimes depending on the guest, that flow will change. So we'll be
That's
here
all right.
and try to do better next week.
Tim, we don't have to apologize to those people. This is our show. It doesn't matter. You know, but that's the whole thing. But that's the whole thing. We appreciate your participation. I'm really glad you were there. Thank you very much for joining us. Cap, was there anything that you would like to add or cap at the end of this show from your perspective?
Yeah, like Nike says, just do it. Or like Shia LaBeouf says, just do it. Do it. Have you ever seen that video, Roland, where Shia LaBeouf in front of the green screen just going, do it? He's just doing that over and over again. Yeah. That's what you got to do. If you want to actually start a YouTube channel, there's no other way that it's going to happen other than you just doing it. And if you want to start live streaming, the only way it's going to happen is if you just do it. And it doesn't matter if you're perfect. No one's perfect in the beginning. It might take you a whole year, a year and a half before you really get comfortable in front of a camera and talking to. When you first start out, you're going to talk to one person, and that might be yourself. Like, you'll see one person watching. No, it doesn't matter. Keep doing it. And the more comfortable you get, the more you'll be able to communicate your story and your message, and more people will follow the more you're, consistently keeping up with this. Just do it. That's my advice.
This whole thing just completely reinforces my message, because MinMax Media says you got to get a camera and get a mic and express yourself. And that's the message. Get started. So Roland from MinMax Media saying, thank you very much for joining us today, having a great conversation with Cap, and hope you'll reach out to him. We got messages at the end here to tell you how to do that. Thanks a lot, and thanks for watching Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties.